Performance exhaust manufacturer TaipanXP specialise in designing and manufacturing exhaust systems, which along with a chip raise the performance of diesel four-drive vehicles and improve towability. Based in Queensland, TaipanXP operates from its 1,000 square metre Burleigh Heads premises, employing 17 specialist staff along with 190 distributors across Australia. Owner, Kerry Haynes, a one-time chef with a passion for racing fast cars with Australia's V8s and European performance vehicles, established the business some 20 years ago in Taree, Queensland.
I'm actually a chef by trade. Basically, I did my apprenticeship in New Zealand. I came over here to further myself and worked in restaurants and everything over here on the Gold Coast. Never moved from the Gold Coast, just loved the climate and the lifestyle. But I had two young children with my wife, and then basically I just wanted to see them grow up and do some activities with them, always working nights, weekends. So I looked around for an alternative way to make a living, and my passion's always been motor vehicles, fast cars, and go motor racing, which I did do in New Zealand, Speedway, and basically hands-on. I had a brother that helped me. He builds race cars in America.
It wasn't long before the business known as Hinterland Performance Exhaust Systems began undertaking custom work for turbocharged Holden and Ford vehicles, which led Kerry to the Vortex muffler.
Bought an everyday exhaust shop in Narang, which is another suburb from Burleigh here. I went from that to doing a trip back to New Zealand once and saw the Jap import market had been opened up, and I saw all these big shiny cannons on the back of all these Japanese cars, and I thought, nothing like that in Australia. I'll come over here and investigate that. So I went down that track and actually had mufflers made and explained to guys that could make stainless steel mufflers what I actually wanted. So they actually produced them for me, and I was probably one of the first guys to do a 3-inch system on a Subaru Liberty. Things just kept going from there. I just basically led the way. I did a lot of Commodore stuff, custom work, fulfilled that need, and then I could see the diesel market getting very, very big with four-wheel drives. There wasn't too many people manufacturing in that area, but I wanted to come into the marketplace with something totally different, and I'd come across a Vortex muffler. Back in November, I think it was 01, we did a bit of R&D with just a 4.2 Land Cruiser that had a Denko kit on it, and had a 2.5-inch system on it. So we made a 3-inch system for it. We ran a conventional muffler, then we ran the Vortex muffler in there, and not knowing a lot about diesels and how they operated and how they make their power and that, I had the chap that gave me the car, he actually had Australian four-wheel drive, which was just a repair business. So we grabbed his car, I grabbed his mechanic, we went down to the dyno, and we did some testing on all three exhausts. On the 2.5, we had a base dyno run on that. Then we ripped that off, we put the 3-inch system through, which had just a straight through 3-inch muffler. We did some testing with that. Then we put the Vortex muffler on it, and we actually went backwards in performance and couldn't work out why we'd actually lost power. So we hit it up again, and because we had a pyro on there and a boost gauge, we basically looked into it, watched our pyro temperatures, and we saw a massive drop in EGT temperatures from the straight through 3-inch exhaust system, where we saw about a 70-80 degree drop in EGT temperatures. Also the booster dropped by a pound. So being green, I said to the mechanic, I said, you know, what's going on here? Like we couldn't work it out. And he said, well, let's put the other muffler back in. So we put the standard straight through muffler back in, and we hit it up again, and that's when we noticed and we saw the difference in the temperatures, and we both, you know, were dumbfounded that the muffler was scavenging, you know, and dropping temperatures more than a straight through, you know, like a standard muffler as we know. So I said, well, what do we do about it? What can we do about getting it back to apples for apples, like same heat, same boost and everything? He said, well, he said, I can fix the boost, we can adjust that. I can retune it back to the 550 degrees that I had it set up before with the Denko kit, and I said, rightio, that sounds good. So he got on the pump, did the fuel settings, did the boost settings, then we basically hit it up again, and we just made a lot more power. We made a good 20% on what we had with the straight-through system, so I knew I was on a really good thing. I wanted to come into the marketplace with something different, and I found the product to do it. What we did see in the dyno runs too was a massive gain in torque, and obviously being four-wheel drivers, they all want their torque. They want to have that low-down power to do their pulling out of holes and working on the beach and stuff like that, and then the caravan towers want that torque as well. So this muffler really got me excited. The mechanic, to this day, we still talk about it and have a laugh about it, because he just couldn't believe the difference. And so that was my first guy that I converted. The only thing was, back in November 01, we could do anything with a manual pump on it, so 4.2 Petrols that had a manual pump, anything that was aftermarket turbo we could, because we could put the fuel back in. But if we came across a vehicle that was just electronically controlled, which needed a chip or a management system to be able to upgrade the fuel, there wasn't anything around. So virtually we twiddled our thumbs for a good year and a half to 2 years. Then DP come in the marketplace with their chip, and once their chip was available, we were off and running and just went basically from strength to strength, bringing in more product lines. I could see in the marketplace that very few people that were making stuff back then weren't allowing for side steps on vehicles. They weren't allowing for long-range fuel tanks. The KMR rear bars were strong in the marketplace, so tailpipes would crash on them. Not enough clearance around fuel tanks, so we went to that extra effort to make sure all of that was done when we make a system. So when we borrow a car off a customer, we like it to have as many accessories on it that we can physically have on a car, so that we can make sure our system is going to clear all those products, the aftermarket products. Ground clearance is a big one, being four-wheel drivers and that. You want to be able to go over rocks and stumps and not hang up your exhaust system and that. Our system is really tucked up high under the car, and the design of the muffler, the slimline design, no square edges on it, that makes it really good for getting over tree stumps, rocks, stuff like that. So because it's so much higher, we clear a lot more underneath the vehicle. So that's sort of how we got going with the Taipan products, how we make our products. Everything's made out of jigs, so all our jigs and that, we go to the extra work to make sure that bracketry can't be put around the wrong way, that they're a good heavy jig, because a lot of product gets made out of the jigs, so that they don't bend up on us with heat with the constant use of the jigs. So we put quite a bit of effort into making sure our jigs are spot on, just for our quality control, just to make sure that we know every time the system goes out it's going to fit. Then we just went on to getting a product range up and running. Our previous business name was Hinterland Performance Exhaust. That sort of didn't cut the mustard, so we needed to find something a little bit more Asian-y, because we were up against like HKS and a lot of the Japanese and brand names from China as well. So we came up with, through a marketing company, the logo. A young guy in the marketing company came up with the logo, the Taipan, because it's a snake, twists and curls around underneath the car. So that's how we really got our name Taipan. So the guy in America thought it was great, so we just ran with that.
When the business started, there was 4 of us in a 250 square metre factory, and now there's 17, and we've got over 1,000 square metres, 815 square metres of factories and a couple hundred of office space. I've worked here for 8 years. My father, Carrie, and my mother, Julia, own the business, and I'm the office and purchasing manager. So I oversee everything in the office, purchasing down to freight as well, and making sure that comes in and goes out on time. Handling all the invoices, orders, making sure the boys have everything they need out the back. In regards to dealing with all our trade and retail clients, I make sure that they have the price lists when they call up, make sure that they can read it, because it is quite extensive. We've grown from a 4-page price list when I started 8 years ago to a 52-page price list. So it can be a bit tricky with all the different makes and models, especially with the 70 series when you have about 16 different options for them available. Just making sure they get the right part number so that they can get the right part out.
My role at TaipanXP, Tim, is that I'm the Business Development Manager responsible for Queensland and New South Wales. What I do is I look after the existing accounts that we've had for some time at Taipan and also get out there on the road and secure new business. Why should you do business with us is a question that's always asked. And we've got some real value adds in the business relationship. Not only am I there 24/7 essentially to take any inquiry, process any order or gain technical information from queries from clients that may be struggling with trying to understand what our system does and how it works, but we also add value to the business by supplying point of sale material so their customers can see, touch, hear what we do.
So I'm the new business development manager and I look after South Australia, Victoria, Tassie and Northern Territory. The contact with the resellers and having great communication with them, they know the customers, they know the clients, they know the products and how they respond to the products as well. But also my resellers, because they're local and they've been in the industry, in the local industry, they know also what works in a certain state might not work in another state. Especially for me because I cover such a large territory, it's imperial for me to have that communication with them to develop the brand.
The most significant benefit we provide to our resellers is that any sales lead that's generated through the website, through a phone call to the office, from a social media marketing campaign, or any other ads that we run to generate brand awareness, those sales leads are all referred back to the business. We're a manufacturer at TaipanXP and we want the right key appointed people that support our brand to be given as many sales opportunities as we can.
We just don't take anyone that comes along or pops their head up. We actually screen them, see that they've got good business ethics, how their workshops are set up. If they've got a dyno in, that's even more of a plus. We've got a good nucleus of resellers and a lot more coming on board.
I enjoy what we do and that we put out a really high quality product, and when it comes down to sending the goods out, you know that the customer every time is going to get a good quality product and what they've asked for and what they've paid for.
TaipanXP specialises in diesel engines and has developed over 220 exhaust systems to suit most makes and models, manufactured on-site under strict quality control processes, making them the leader of choice and range in the marketplace.
Yeah, we've got a huge range. We've got our Nissans and we've got our Toyotas, we have Land Rover stuff, we've got Mitsubishi covered, obviously the key manufacturers that are out there. The product range is just growing and growing, and we try and get at least 1 or 2 cars a month because we do so much testing that's very time consuming. Each vehicle can take up to 5 days to get one sorted out.
The TaipanXP 4-wheel drive performance exhaust system is 100% 3-inch Mandrel Bent, which allows the tube to have a uniform diameter throughout the bends, all the way from the dump pipe to the tailpipe. This keeps performance up and exhaust flow high while providing you with a system that is more efficient, which helps to maximise the performance, giving you more power, more torque and better fuel economy.
Yeah, so we do Mandrel bending here in-house. Everything's made here in-house. We do use a few components that we have to buy in, like the flexes and the cats and stuff like that, but our muffler's made here. All our pipe work's bent here on our Mandrel bender in-house. With the exhaust systems, everyone thinks when you put one on, a diesel, you throw a 3-inch system on, you're going to make instant power. That's not the case. If you actually dynoed the vehicle beforehand, then put the exhaust on, you'll probably not see a great deal of power gain on some vehicles. There's probably about a good 5 to 6 vehicles that will actually make power and decent power by putting on an exhaust on their own. Like the 70 series single turbo, the 200 series, the 3-litre Petrol CRD, they're just a few off the top of my head that will make power, and a good 10 to 12 kilowatts. So seat of the pants, you would notice that. But most of the other vehicles need a chip added to them to get your performance to come on. If you put a chip on its own, you're basically going to raise combustion temperatures. You're going to increase them by 70, 80 degrees. So if you put that chip with an exhaust that's just dropped your temperatures by 70, 80 degrees, when the chip and the exhaust are married up on those particular vehicles, you'll see a 20 kilowatt gain minimum with the use of the two together. But the best thing about it, it's still working in its heat range that it was before you came along and threw those products at the vehicle. I don't believe putting a chip on its own is the answer. What you're doing there is basically creating a lot more combustion temperatures. So when you hook your big van up and start hitting these big hills, on nice hot days when you're up top Queensland, your combustion temperatures are going to get up and up and up. So what you should do is run the exhaust with it to keep those temperatures down to start with, so that you can hit the big hills and then know that your motor's not going to suffer from, stressing it out with too much heat.
For all those DIY enthusiasts, all TaipanXP 3-inch Mandrel Bent 4-drive performance exhaust systems fit first time and every time for unmodified vehicles. All systems tuck up tight underneath the chassis for maximum ground clearance using existing manufacturing points, and are flexible and designed to also cater for vehicles with extra accessories such as long-range fuel tanks, toolboxes, etc. The systems are sold in kit form for all of the DIY enthusiasts, or can be fitted by your nearest reseller.
So with all our exhaust systems that we manufacture here, we do have fitting instructions, so anyone that wanted to DIY it themselves, they certainly can. The fitting instructions basically help you get through the process. We also have a backup if you run into any problems. The guys out in the office will put you onto us and we can talk you through a fitment problem that you're having. And we do get a lot of compliments on our fitting quality.
Well, it's exciting times here at TaipanXP at the moment with all the new model vehicles coming out. I can only see our business growing even more into the future.
We're doing a lot more work now with DPF cladded cars, so it's starting to be a big demand for them because the standard DPFs are clogging up and are very, very expensive to replace. The price that it costs to put a new DPF on a car through a dealership, they could put 2 to 3 of my exhaust systems on, so that's something we're really, really heavily involved in R&D in at the moment is replacement DPF exhaust systems.
Since 2003, TaipanXP have been committed to providing its customers with the best 4-drive performance exhaust system in the market, with unparalleled customer service and first-class technical advice. To find out more how TaipanXP exhaust systems can improve your vehicle's performance, head over to taipanxp.com.au.